Hello everyone. Welcome to the solution of LeetCode problem 605 named Can Place Flowers. In this problem, we are given a flower bed in which some of the plots are planted and some are not. However, flowers can be planted in adjacent plots. That means we cannot plant the flower in the adjacent plots. So we are given an integer array flower bed containing zeros and ones, where 0 means empty and 1 means not empty. That means it is already planted. And we are given an integer n. So we have to return true if n new flowers can be placed in the input array without violating the non-adjacent flower rule conditions. Otherwise, we have to return false. Suppose in the first example, the array contains 5 elements, which is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Now here, the number of flower bed is 1, which we want to place. So if we place this 1 here, the array will become 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So none of the flower bed will be adjacent to each other. So in this case, we have to return true. In the second example, the array are similar to the first one, which is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And the number of flower bed we want to place is 2. But it is not possible in these 3 empty cells to place 2 of the flower beds because they will violate the no adjacent flower rules conditions. So in this case, we have to return false. Now the constraint are the array length can be in between 1 to 2 into 10 to the power 4. And each of the array element can be 0 or 1. And there are no 2 adjacent flowers in the flower bed given. So I hope you understood the constraint as well as the problem statement. Now let's move on to the algorithm. Here, for the simplicity of the algorithm, we have taken the first example. The array contains 5 elements here, which is 1, 0, 0, 0, and 1. And the value of n is 1 given. That means we have to place 1 extra flower bed in this input array. Here, currently, here 1 flower bed is given, 1 flower bed is given here. So now, if we place this new flower bed here, the array will become 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So we can see that none of the flower bed will be adjacent to each other. So in this problem, we have to return true. So I hope you understood the problem very well. Now, the condition is, how can we place each of the flower bed? Or how can we check whether we can place n number of flower bed in the input array or not? So the condition is, at first we have to run a loop from the left to right. Now, for each of the cell, we have to check several conditions, whether we can place a flower bed into this specific cell or not. Suppose at first, currently, we are presented in this cell. So if we want to place a flower into a set, what condition should I check first? Suppose the name of the array will be A. The first condition will be whether the value of current A of I positions is 0 or not. This is the first trivial condition, because if the current value presented in the corresponding I positions is not 0, that means there already exists a flower. So we cannot place a flower into these corresponding positions. So first condition will be, we have to check whether current positions contains the value 0 or not, or the current position is empty or not. Now we have checked one conditions here. Now, is this sufficient to place a flowers into a cell? Obviously no. We have to check two another things. We have to check whether the left cell of these flowers is empty or not, and the right side of this flower bed is empty or not. So we have to another check two conditions. Suppose at first we are checking the left conditions. So we are using AND operator here. Now the left condition is, first we have to check whether the value of a of I minus 1 will be 0 or not. But wait, there can be possibilities that the left cell might not exist, because if we present it in the first cell, it does not have any other left cell. So here we have to check one extra condition here. We are checking whether the value of the left cell is 0 or not, or currently we are presented at the initial cell or at the 0 index. This is one kind of conditions in which we will check whether the left cell is empty or not. Now again, we have to check another conditions. We have to again check whether the right cell is empty or not. So here we have to put AND operations because we have to make all of the conditions true. So to check the right conditions, we will check whether the value of a of I plus 1 will be 0 or not. If it is, that means the right positions is empty. And we have to check one another thing, whether there might be possible that the right cell cannot exist. Suppose if we present it in this last cell, it does not have any other right cell here, right? So it can be one of the possibilities. So we have to again check whether currently we are presented at the last cell or not, which is a dot size minus 1. So we have to place a flower bed. We have to make these three conditions true. So for each iterations, if any of the iterations, these three conditions becomes true, that means we will simply place the flower into these corresponding positions. So here, for this middle cell, these three conditions becomes true because initially it is 0, its left cell is 0 and its right cell is 0. So here we will place the flower. So we will make the value 0 to 1 and decrease the value of n. Now our n is 0. And after iterating all of the element, if currently the value of n is 0, that means we have placed all of the flowers. So in this case, we have to return true. Otherwise, we have to return false. I hope you understood the algorithm. Now let's move on to the code. In this problem, the code is pretty simple. At first, we are given a function named flower beds. Pass. In this problem, the code is pretty simple. At first, we are given a function named canPlaceFlowers, which has two parameters, flower bed and n. Now, initially, if the value of n is 0, we have to return true. That means we do not have to place any of the flowers in the flower bed. Otherwise, we have to run a loop and check these three conditions, whether the current element is 0 or not, and the previous element is 0 or not, and the next element is 0 or not. If all of the conditions becomes true, we will decrease the value of n, and that means we are placing the flower here. And if the value of n is 0, that means we have to return true. After that, we will place the flower into the corresponding cell. Finally, if we did not place any of the flower, we have to simply return false. I hope you understood the code. Now let's move on to the time and space complexity analysis. In this program, the time complexity is big O of n because we are iterating each of the element to place flowers, and the space complexity is big O of 1 because we are using only constant extra memories to solve this problem. Thank you everyone for watching this video. We will get back soon with another LeetCode solution.